Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with my good friend Brian Gahsman. Brian, it's earnings season. I'm surprised to see you up and awake and getting after it, but I'm assuming these last couple of weeks have been pretty busy for you on the earnings calls and quarterly reports.
Yeah, I mean, why do they have to? What did they pick our portfolio to all announce at the same time? I
It
mean,
does
give me
seem
a
like this week and last were
yeah,
insane.
yeah. Well, it's been busy, but I've always got time for a chat.
Yeah, well, I want to dig into one that I find super fascinating. So let's talk about Kraken Robotics. They have an awesome name, an awesome logo, but
Yeah.
stuff's really cooking for them too. So maybe start at the high level. What does Kraken do? What makes them interesting? And then they had a super acquisition in March. Give us the details of that because I bet you're stoked about that deal.
Well, I am excited about this. Yeah. So we've talked a lot in the past few months about drones, right? We've talked about drones, military and defense, and space. What we haven't talked about are underwater drones,
Hmm.
right? Underwater drones. So there's a lot of drones needed in the Straits of Hormuz right now to find mines.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. But there's 7 different countries that are using this company also. So this company makes underwater unmanned vehicles, obviously, with the top-notch sonar ever done.
Hmm.
But on top of that, they also make what subsea batteries. So batteries is a huge market, right? And I think you mentioned something about Ondas and there's
Amprius and Ondas.
And
Yeah.
Amprius. Yeah, exactly. But they're not the same batteries that you can use undersea. So anyway, they do that as well, which is huge. But in March, the acquisition of the Covelia Group. I don't know if I want to talk about numbers first or how awesome that is. So, that's a large UK-based company that also specialized in unmanned underwater vehicles, robots, and as well as navigation systems. It was a huge purchase, though. I mean, it was 615 million Canadian. So I'm sorry, this is a Canadian company, so I'm going to break down the numbers. I'm going to try to do it to USD, but as best I can. But regardless, so it's a 1.8 million or 1.8 billion dollar USD market cap company. And so to buy Covelia for half of their market value initially was huge. And yes, they had to do uh, a secondary offering, but it was oversubscribed. People loved it. That's what nobody likes secondary offerings unless they're oversubscribed, first of all. Um, anyway, so it's funded, and shareholders of Kraken will ideally receive additional shares of Kraken from this deal once it's realized. Because it's to be realized by the end of June. Anyway, getting back to that. Yes, they bought a company half the size of themselves. That was huge, but at the same time, it triples revenues. We are at $102 million in revenues in 25. We're looking at 290 million in revenues for 26, and anticipated 568 million in revenues for 27.
Hmm.
Just it's just tripling. This
Wow.
isn't one of
Big time.
those this isn't one of those smaller microcap companies I talk about a lot that don't have earnings yet. No, they also have earnings they have for many years.
Let's talk real quick about that. So these are big forecast numbers. March 3rd, we were pricing Kraken stock at about 686. It peaked around March 10th at 756. Now we're trading at five and a quarter or so. What do you think is the cause of this? Is it why would there be after such a great news? What's
Mhm.
pulling the stock price down? And what are some targets you've got in mind?
Okay, so because they're They literally bought a company half the size of themselves, and they had to do dilution to shareholders
Mm,
for it. And so it's not just in the United. I mean, you can buy the stock in the U.S., but as like the over-the-counter shares. But if you
yep.
if you if you buy the stock in Canada, there's people that short in Canada, and there's people that day trade in Canada, and their algorithms are, oh, there's a secondary offering, short, short, short. So it's completely based on the secondary offering that the stock price dropped. Some shorts just came on board that they don't even follow the investments. It's all math. And so I think that's why the stock has dropped. I am certain it's going to recover. On a side note, I'll do a comma here. So Aviva Corp, that we've talked about in the past videos, they announced earnings. I was scratching my head because they were down like 30% the next day. It didn't make any sense. And it's since recovered and been rallying. But those types of scenarios happen. Some people take gains, some people short, but there's no fundamental reason why the stock isn't trading up in the $9 to $10 area.
Oh, good. Well, who are some of the competitors? Where has some of the friction come from in the landscape? Who else goes for these contracts?
There's a couple companies there. Well, there's Kit, but that's a penny stock. I
Hmm,
mean, so there's another company that wants to get involved in this, but I'm not talking about penny stocks on this.
hmm,
Um, and it's done a lot of tricky financing and dilutions and then splits. So it's trading at like $2 right now, but to me it's a 38-cent stock.
fair enough.
So, but that's it.
Hmm.
This is going to be well, it already is the largest underwater unmanned vehicle company in the world.
Do we have any Department of Defense in America contracts yet for Kraken?
There, well, the $24 million contract that was just awarded was between they actually did not state that because they're working with 7 different countries.
Hmm,
And
okay.
as you know, right now, there's we're with some of our allies aren't super stoked with us right now and other things. And but those awards and additional contracts have gone to 7 different countries, is what I can say. The United
Okay.
States and allies, obviously, they're
Okay.
not they're not they're not selling this stuff to North Korea or Iran.
How about offshore energy or shipping companies? Who would be some of Kraken's um, largest clients or largest customers? Any household names
So
there?
there are 700.
Oh, 700. Good. So they've
There
got
are
a good.
700. Yeah, you want to talk? I mean, from from Saab, making engines, to uh, more household names, to our defense systems, to, I mean, there's 700 companies. I was going to write down a few, but I don't know who's more important or who's more beneficial, but 700 global companies around the world.
And what's their breakdown hardware software? Is there revenues from both sides of the equation?
There are revenues from both sides of
How
the
does that
equation.
work?
I
What
think,
are the
well, so it's not a SaaS model.
okay.
Um, it's not. So it's their proprietary AI
Okay.
that they're using. Um, but the breakdown is with anything else, if you're talking about Intuitive Surgical, there's also their software revenues that they get from their
Yeah.
subscriptions and everything else, right? Right.
Yep.
So, but when I mentioned earlier the sonar,
Hmm.
yeah, the AI-driven sonar, and that is a significant amount of revenue. But what's really we've got to mention here are these underwater batteries for these electric underwater systems. They're not the same batteries you have in a Tesla or
Sure.
anything else. They're specialized. And so they're also the leading provider of these underwater batteries, which is huge. And that's an enormous thing. And they do have, yes, they do have defense contracts for those batteries. So what started out as their catfish underwater unmanned vehicle, they were getting revenues from that. And then they were getting additional revenues from selling their battery technology that's inside of
Mm.
that to other companies. Then the sonar technology, and now with this acquisition, um, now they have additional, they're selling additional components. Basically, they're breaking down the catfish itself and selling those components individually
Oh, okay.
to other companies. And what I've always said about investing in robotics and automation, we invest in the robots and the components and equipment that go into it. And so, yeah, it hits every
Good.
check.
Well, we've talked about tailwinds, headwinds for the time being. Is it going to be rates? I mean, we're almost 4.6 on the 10-year. I'm assuming borrowing costs are going to be uh, bad for this in the short term.
Well, I think okay, let's do headwinds. Yeah, we can't be all warm and fuzzy all the time. So, right. So they are growing through acquisition. They have been, they're not growing organically as I would prefer, but they're growing through acquisition on a grand scale. So headwinds are, I guess, potential share dilution as they continue to do more acquisitions. That's one. And two, once again, the C-powered batteries. So a lot of those revenues we talked about for the 2027 projection of 568 million in revenues depend on capacity.
Hmm.
They have to retrofit new manufacturing facilities to be able to come up with that number. I mean, they acquired Covalia, but Covalia has subsidiaries as well. So to be able to take all of this in-house right now, project that number by the end of 2027, they're going to be, better be lucky because, or they better have the most brilliant plans for manufacturing to restrain capacity issues. That's all it is.
Hmm.
Maybe they do. But if they don't, then that revenue growth projection number could be delayed a little bit.
I see. Yeah. Well, I heard a lot of good news. I heard a lot of growing pains for bringing on a giant acquisition too, but kind of like the good news forecasts in here. They seem to be in the right place at the right time. So let's end on that mid note and be super excited about Kraken Robotics going forward. This looks like one to keep your eye on and maybe to dip your toes in a little bit now, see where it
Yeah.
goes. Especially coming down from wherever it was 750 earlier this year, now at 525. That's a big discount from where it was just a few months ago.
It's not a big discount from where we bought it at originally, but
No, not there, but
I'm not allowed to talk about that, am I? Yeah.
yeah, you're not. Cool. Well, on that note, let's stop. Good job, Brian.